Are you feeling stuck, like you've had a spiritual awakening? You understand that you create your reality, or that thoughts create things. You get the law of attraction. You want to manifest things. You have woken up to the truth of who you really are. And yet you wake up every morning still feeling really, really stuck. Maybe you know that you have a calling to serve. You know that you want to create a business, doing something that's in alignment with you, that fills you with passion and purpose, whatever that business may be. Maybe you know you're not in the relationship that you should be in, but you don't know what to do about these things. I see this all the time when people spiritually awake or they're on a spiritual path, that they know all of these things and they understand them, but yet they still feel completely stuck in their life. So this is exactly what I'm going to dive into in this week's episode, the 2 biggest mistakes that you could be making that is keeping you stuck. Okay, so I see this happen a lot. And in fact, in all honesty and in all fairness, it happened with me. The reason why most people have some kind of a spiritual awakening, or they decide to embark on a self-help path or a spiritual journey, is because something inside of them is unsatisfied, unfulfilled. They feel like there is more to life. They feel like they're connected to something, but they don't really know what that is. At least that's how it was for me. I knew there was more to life than what I was living. I was living a life that supposedly was the dream. However, it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like there should be more. And until I stumbled upon a book called You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, I didn't really have a framework for spirituality. I didn't have a framework that thoughts are things or self-help concepts. I didn't know any of those things. I did always know that I was connected to something, but I didn't have a framework for that. And so when I entered my spiritual path, when I sort of had my spiritual awakening, it felt like coming home to me. It felt like, this makes sense. No religion ever made sense to me, but this makes sense. I felt it in my body. There was a resonance. And so the more information that I attained, the deeper down the rabbit holes I would go. Only that almost made it worse, because now I was aware, okay, there's this thing called the law of attraction, and things come to you in your life at the same level of frequency that you're operating in. Meaning, if I'm feeling fear all the time, then things are going to show up in my life that I attract that create more fear. Or if I have an energy around money, then I'm going to have experiences show up around money that just reaffirm and attract to that frequency. So I knew that now. I now had that information. I read the book You Are the Placebo. I followed people like Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and Dr. Joe Dispenza, Marianne Williamson, all these amazing teachers. I followed people like Tony Robbins and Gabrielle Bernstein, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I know all of these things. I'm now spiritually awoke. I get it. But now how do I do it? Like what is that process? I don't know how to actually start making steps to change my life. And so I actually started going to meditation retreats. And in fact, I started going a lot. And I was able to connect spiritually very, very deeply. I could connect very deeply. I had lots of very profound experiences with energy, with source, with God, with being out of my human self, with realms beyond what we can experience here. I had many, many deep experiences of that. Then that sort of became the chase. It was like, how can I get to the next workshop so that I can feel out of my body? I love feeling that. I just want to stay up there. I don't actually want to be in my body and in my life, because those feelings are so amazing. And so that sort of became a mystical chase. It sort of became, well, I'm just going to law of attraction my way out of my life and everything will just fall into place. But that really wasn't the case. And my first red flag was that I had made all these changes in my life. I attracted my soul partner, my soulmate, my person. We knew this lifetime was not the first time that we had done lifetimes together before. We knew it was a knowing. And so it was amazing, except I stopped wanting to have sex. Like my sex drive completely went away, to the point where I thought I'll never have sex again in my life and I'll be completely okay with that. That is where I got to. And I knew that something was off with that thinking, that how could I love this man and this person? That it wasn't like I was just out there having sex with everybody. I was with a person that I created, that I loved, that I manifested, that of course I want to enjoy these intimate moments with and have intimacy with them and explore my sexuality in a really safe container. But I didn't want any of that. And that was sort of my red flag that something may be off here. And then I would see people going to these retreats and these workshops that were doing the same thing. They just kept wanting to go back, but then they would go into their life and nothing would change. They didn't actually like going back to their life. Now, I was creating changes, but I noticed, again, I was still uncomfortable in my body. And so I saw this theme happening in the spiritual community, not just with the people that I went to the retreats with, but sort of in the spiritual community as a whole, like what people would call the new age spirituality. It was like, okay, now I'm going to get these crystals, or now I'm going to, put on this spiritual hat and I have to look a certain way and act a certain way and I have to dress a certain way and I have to put on this other identity of this spiritual person. Now I can't eat certain things or whatever it may be. However, their actual everyday life wasn't changing, and they weren't actually. I saw so many that were like, well, I want to create a purpose-driven business. I want to work for myself. I want to help people. And yet they couldn't take action towards that. Or maybe they would take one action and then they would fall back to their old patterns of behavior. Or they were in relationships that weren't serving them to their highest purpose. And so, as I said, I saw this pattern repeating itself in so many people in the spiritual community. And so because of all those things, there was something that shifted, a huge thing that shifted for me. And that was after a friend of mine told me about breathwork. He actually introduced me to Wim Hof breathwork, and he really just showed me how to start belly breathing. I didn't know anything. We all think, oh, I know how to breathe. I know how to do that. And little did I know, we actually don't really know how to breathe. And so I started the Soma breathwork instructor training right away because I had an experience with it. I was like, oh my gosh, I knew right away, this is the missing piece. I had meditated for thousands of hours, that I have all these mystical experiences, but the breath work felt like I was in my body. It felt like a meditation, but it felt like a meditation within my body. And so I signed up for the training right away. I dove deep into the Soma breathwork training, and that was phase 2 of my journey. It was combining all of this meditation and spiritual work with actually being in my body, with actually working with these lower energy centers, because as soon as people enter the spiritual realm, they want to be in the crown and third eye and they want to manifest. They don't actually want to be in their body, which is the problem, which is why they're not creating these aligned relationships in their life, or why they're staying stuck in a life that isn't fulfilling, that they know they want more from, but they don't know how. So they stay with friends that they don't actually really enjoy being around, or as I said, relationships, or they stay in a job that's sucking the life out of them because they don't know how to actually take steps towards something that they actually really want to do, because they're not working within their body. They're not working with the lower energy centers. And so that is the first biggest mistake that I see spiritual seekers make. And that is avoiding the body. They don't want to have anything to do with the body. They want to stay in the higher realms of consciousness, but they're not interested in ascending down. People always talk about ascending up, where I truly, truly believe that ultimate enlightenment is ascending down, taking that energy and coming down and bringing it into your body in the human experience. Because after all, at the end of the day, you are in a human body right now. And so I don't think the spiritual work is about trying to get out of the body, or else we wouldn't have bodies. We wouldn't have this 3-dimensional experience world. So for me, my belief and my experience is that we're actually supposed to take all that and descend it down into our bodies, so that we are creating lives that are soul aligned with that energy, and we are moving through the world in that space, so that we are creating these deep relationships that are thriving, that within these relationships we thrive and we grow and we transform, instead of everybody staying stuck at a lower level of consciousness. And then we're creating what's the second biggest part of all of our lives. It's business or money. It's what we do every single day. It's where you spend most of your time. And so if you're in a job that's sucking the life out of you, guess what? Your reality is going to suck the life out of you, and you're not going to have any energy to be creative. But if you can get in energetic alignment, that starts with being in the body, being okay to be in the body. Then you can actually move into creating something that you're passionate about, that you wake up every morning excited about. But if you're avoiding the body, you can't do those things. This also has to do with inner child work, shadow work that's in your first and second centers. And then really the second mistake I see spiritual seekers make is no discipline, which really has to do with your solar plexus. Again, being in the body and working with this lower chakra system, your solar plexus has to do with taking action, with feeling confident and inspired action, will and discipline. Your solar plexus is, like I said, a masculine energy, and it also has to do with discipline. And so a lot of times when we're in creative spaces and we're in these higher frequencies, we can be really flighty, and we can try to avoid any kind of routine or any kind of discipline because we think it takes us out of our creativity. But actually learning to tap into your creativity and then tap into the solar plexus, which is then able to push those creativity and the creative ideas out into the world, then you'll stay stuck in this constant cycle of feeling unfulfilled, of waking up every morning going, why am I stuck? Why do I keep doing the same things? Number one, you haven't dealt with that energetic trauma, that emotional trauma that lives in your lower centers, and we do that through breath work. And then number two, tapping into that solar plexus and having discipline. I don't care if you want to be a monk up in the Himalayas. They have, in fact, extreme discipline. They get up every single morning at 4 a.m. I heard a quote from Shetty once, and he said, everybody wants to have the benefits of being a monk, but no one wants to actually live the life and do the things it takes the monk to get there, right? Getting up at 4 a.m. every morning, meditating for 4 hours. They don't go to bed until like 12. They're very disciplined in their practice so that they can reach those higher states of consciousness. But they have to have some form of discipline. And so a tool that I will offer you today to help with this discipline, especially as somebody that's very creative and as somebody that pushes against any form of restriction. I don't like rules. I don't like to be told what to do. I know that about myself. So I found a way to work within that so that I am still keeping that discipline. So I have a list of 5 things that I have to do. They include breath work, meditation, exercise, creative hour, and listening to music, and my altar. And so if I just do one of those things on that list of 5 things, 5 days a week, then I'm able to stay consistent with some sort of discipline. Now, many times I do all 5 of those things on the list in one day. But if I don't set myself up to fail, which is like, I'm gonna do all 5 of these things every single day, because that's just a default self-behavior, because I know I won't do that. And because I won't do that, then I'll feel really guilty I'm not doing anything, then I won't do anything, right? It starts that self-sabotaging behavior. But if you create a list that has 5 things that if you do any one of those things once a day, it will keep your solar plexus open. It will keep that level of discipline there so that you're not going so far to the other extreme where you're overexerting your will, you're overusing your solar plexus, but it still keeps you in that space of taking some sort of action to be disciplined, but the action is what's going to keep you in energetic alignment. So you have to have some sort of a discipline routine, some sort of a discipline practice. And maybe that's just working out 3 days a week, but something that keeps that solar plexus strong so that you can actually take action in your life, because you can do all this work up here. If you can't be in your body, none of it will matter. None of that spiritual work you do will matter if you can't actually move forward in the world in your body. So as I said, avoiding the body and not having any kind of discipline, the 2 biggest mistakes I see. And so the solutions to that, number 1, being in the body, is breath work. So I say meditation is for the mind, breath work is for the body. You should do both of those. I practice both breath work and meditation because I have to engage both my mind and my body. So having some kind of a breath work practice that you're working with your body, you're working in these lower energy centers to release trauma, to get to know who your default self is, the part of you that was programmed those first 7 years, to allow suppressed emotion to move through you, not just ones that you've held on to, but stuff that comes up every single day. So you're not suppressing it and holding it in, so that you're actually, as I said, taking action in your life. So breathwork, number 1, is what you can do. And then number 2, as I said, discipline. I have a previous video where I talk about the solar plexus and discipline and how to create confidence. And that's working within those solar plexus, and that's done with a breath retention practice. So you can check out that video where I dive deep into how important a breath retention practice is, because it's working with the solar plexus. And that is what will increase your discipline. But then also, as I said, make a list of 5 things that at any one of those things, if you do them once a day, you will feel better. So it's something for you to get energetically aligned, but it's just one thing. So if you don't set yourself up to do self-sabotaging behaviors and not succeed, and just say, okay, if I do one of the things of these 5 on the list, you may actually end up doing way more than that. but at least you aren't creating that self-sabotaging behavior. Okay, so those are the 2 things, actually 3, I think I said, that you can start doing so you're not making the mistakes of avoiding the body and just staying stuck up in these upper chakra systems and not actually living a super fulfilling life. Waking up every day going, oh my God, I'm so excited about my life. I'm surrounded by the people that build me up, that I feel full with, that I feel inspired by. And I'm creating a purpose-driven business that fills me, that I can't wait to work on. I get up every day going, oh my gosh, I get to do this. That is living an energetically aligned life, a soul-filled, soul-aligned life. So start practicing those. Let me know in the comments below if this helped you. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, share. You can also click the bell so that you can be notified when we have a new episode go live. I forget all the time. So if you click the bell, it reminds you automatically, hey, Scott and Em posted a new video, so you can be sure to go check it out. I love you all. I will see you on the next episode. Mwah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of the Scott and Em channel. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up, and click the bell so you can be sure to be notified of all our upcoming episodes. See you next time.